Welcome, friend. As a fan of The Office myself, I'm happy to share this moment with you. Let us begin. Long before the world knew the comforting rhythms of Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch, before Jim's knowing glances to unseen cameras became a universal language of workplace solidarity, and before Michael Scott's earnest bumbling would capture the hearts of millions seeking solace in the familiar cadences of office life, there existed only the quiet possibility that someone, somewhere, might find poetry in the mundane machinery of American commerce. Tonight, as you settle into the embrace of sleep, let us drift together through the hallways of what would become television's most enduring comfort blanket, a modest paper supply company that accidentally taught us how to love our flawed, beautiful, deeply human colleagues. The Office, that gentle mockumentary that premiered on NBC in the spring of 2005, emerged from humble origins like the finest bedtime stories, quietly, without fanfare, carrying within its unassuming frame the power to transform the way we understood both comedy and compassion. Created by Greg Daniels, who had learned the delicate art of character-driven storytelling through his work on The Simpsons and King of the Hill, this American adaptation of Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant's brilliant British original would evolve into something altogether more warm-hearted, more optimistic, more suited to the American sensibility that finds hope even in the most ordinary circumstances. What follows is not merely the chronological recounting of a television series, but rather a meditative journey through 9 seasons of shared humanity, where the clicking of keyboards becomes a lullaby, the whir of copy machines transforms into white noise for the soul, and the gentle chaos of workplace relationships unfolds with the predictable comfort of a beloved ritual. Close your eyes if you wish, and let the story of Dunder Mifflin wash over you like the familiar sounds of an office settling into the quiet hours of evening, when the day's urgent matters have given way to the timeless rhythms of human connection. Chapter 1. The Seeds of Scranton. A phone call that changed everything. In the closing weeks of 2003, as winter settled over the entertainment districts of Los Angeles like a gentle blanket of possibility, Greg Daniels received a phone call that would reshape the landscape of American comedy. His agent, Ari Emanuel, had sent him a VHS cassette with an unprepossessing title, The Office, and when Daniels initially set it aside during the Christmas holidays, distracted by the season's familial obligations and year-end reflection, he could hardly have imagined that this modest British import would become the foundation upon which he would build television's most beloved workplace sanctuary. But on that fateful evening in early January 2004, when Emanuel called with gentle insistence, "I'm going to send it to the next guy if you're not interested," Daniels found himself at 11 o'clock in the evening sliding the cassette into his VCR with the weary curiosity of a craftsman examining another's work. What unfolded over the next 3 hours would keep him awake until 2 in the morning, not with agitation, but with the kind of profound recognition that comes when one discovers a kindred spirit in the vast wilderness of creative expression. The British Office, created by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, was unlike anything Daniels had encountered in his years writing for Saturday Night Live, The Simpsons, and King of the Hill. Here was comedy that breathed with the rhythm of real life, that found profound humor in the spaces between words, that elevated the mundane interactions of office workers into something approaching art. The mockumentary format, inspired by Christopher Guest's improvisational masterpieces, captured the authentic awkwardness of human beings trying to maintain dignity in the fluorescent-lit theaters of corporate life. Yet even as Daniels found himself mesmerized by the show's innovative blend of cringe comedy and unexpected pathos, he recognized the challenge that lay ahead. The British office was a perfect artifact of its culture, dry, sardonic, unflinching in its examination of workplace malaise. David Brent, Gervais' character, was a figure of such concentrated awfulness that he transcended comedy to become almost tragic. American audiences, Daniels intuited, would need something different. Not a softening exactly, but a translation that preserved the show's essential humanity, while making room for the optimism that characterized American storytelling at its finest, the delicate art of adaptation. The process of adapting The Office for American television required the delicate touch of a master translator, working between not just languages but entire worldviews. Daniels, with his background in character-driven animated comedy, understood that the show's success would depend not on replicating the British version's specific rhythms, but on capturing its essential spirit while allowing it to breathe in American soil. Like a gardener transplanting a delicate flower, he would need to adjust the soil conditions, the amount of sunlight, the frequency of watering, all while preserving the plant's fundamental nature. The pilot episode, which Daniels crafted with reverential attention to the original structure, served as both homage and declaration of independence. Shot in the same handheld documentary style that made viewers feel like invisible observers in a real workplace, the episode introduced American audiences to Michael Scott, the Scranton branch manager whose desperate need to be loved would become the show's emotional engine. Where David Brent was irredeemably awful, Michael Scott would be awful in ways that somehow made him sympathetic. A man-child whose incompetence was matched only by his genuine affection for his employees, however misguided that affection might be. NBC's initial response to the pilot was cautious, reflecting the uncertainty that often accompanies innovation. The network ordered only 5 additional episodes beyond the pilot, a vote of limited confidence that left the show's future hanging in the balance like morning mist over the Susquehanna River. Critics, too, approached the show with skepticism, many comparing it unfavorably to its British predecessor, and questioning whether American television needed another workplace comedy when there were already so many familiar formulas that delivered reliable laughs without challenging viewers' expectations. Yet within the show's modest first season lay the seeds of everything that would make The Office a cultural phenomenon. The relationship between Jim Halpert and Pam Beesly, barely glimpsed in those early episodes, carried the promise of television's most realistic and affecting romantic storyline. Dwight Schrute's bizarre intensity, Rainn Wilson's gift for finding the humanity within the character's militant peculiarity, offered a new template for television's lovable weirdos. And Steve Carell's Michael Scott, still finding his footing in those early episodes, would evolve into a character of such complexity that his eventual departure would feel like losing a family member. The casting of magic. The casting of The Office unfolded with the serendipitous perfection that characterizes the greatest ensembles in television history, as if the universe itself conspired to bring together precisely the right collection of souls to inhabit the fictional world of Dunder Mifflin. Each actor arrived carrying their own gifts, some polished by years of training, others raw with untapped potential, and together they would create an alchemy that transformed a simple workplace comedy into something approaching a modern American novel. Steve Carell's journey to the role of Michael Scott exemplified the beautiful accidents that shape artistic destiny. Initially committed to another NBC project, a sitcom called Come to Papa that would quickly fade into television obscurity, Carell became available for The Office only when his original show was canceled, a professional setback that would prove to be the most fortunate failure of his career. His audition for Michael Scott revealed not just his gifts as a comedian, but his intuitive understanding of the character's essential contradiction. a man so desperate to be loved that he constantly sabotages his own likability. John Krasinski's audition for Jim Halpert possessed the effortless charm that would make him the show's emotional anchor, the voice of reason in a world of beautiful chaos. Working as a waiter before landing the role, Krasinski brought to Jim an everyman quality that made his pranks feel like gentle rebellion rather than cruel mischief. His romantic longing for Pam both deeply personal and universally recognizable. His memorable audition moment, candidly telling a stranger he hoped the show wouldn't suck, only to discover that stranger was Greg Daniels himself, captured the unpretentious authenticity that would make Jim such a beloved character. Jenna Fisher's path to playing Pam Beesly required her to embody the complex internal life of a woman whose dreams had been deferred by circumstances and self-doubt. Her audition, sitting at a receptionist's desk, pretending to be bored, revealed her gift for finding depth in apparent simplicity, for suggesting entire inner worlds through the subtlest shifts in expression. The chemistry between Fisher and Krasinski, evident from their first screen test together, would become the show's romantic foundation, a slow-burning love story that unfolded with the patience of real relationships rather than the artificial urgency of television romance. Rainn Wilson's Dwight Schrute emerged as one of television's most original creations, a character who could have been merely a collection of quirks, but instead became a fully realized human being whose intensity and loyalty made him both hilarious and surprisingly touching. Wilson's background in theater served him well in creating a character who operated according to his own internal logic, whose beat farming and martial arts obsessions reflected not randomness but a coherent worldview that happened to be completely at odds with conventional office culture. The supporting cast: Angela Kinsey's prudish accountant Angela Martin, Brian Baumgartner's hapless Kevin Malone, Oscar Nunez's sardonic Oscar Martinez, and the ensemble of background players who would gradually emerge as distinct personalities, created the lived-in feeling that made Dunder Mifflin feel like a real workplace rather than a television set. Even the smallest roles were filled with actors who brought genuine personality to their characters, understanding that in the show's mockumentary format, every person caught by the camera needed to feel like they had a life beyond what viewers saw. Chapter 2. Season 1. The Awakening. Humble beginnings in Scranton. When The Office premiered on March 24, 2005, following Donald Trump's The Apprentice in NBC's Thursday night lineup, it entered the world with the quiet determination of a small paper company competing against corporate giants. The 6-episode first season, adhering to the British television tradition of brevity over abundance, served as both introduction and trial by fire. A gentle invitation to viewers to spend time with the employees of Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch, even as the show's creators searched for the precise tone that would distinguish their creation from its British ancestor. Those initial episodes carried the tentative energy of a new relationship, with actors and writers still discovering the characters they would inhabit for nearly a decade. Michael Scott, in these early appearances, retained much of David Brent's darker edges. His inappropriate comments and casual cruelty sometimes landed with uncomfortable weight, lacking the sweetness that would later make his awfulness endurable. Yet even in these rough first drafts, Steve Carell's fundamental decency shone through, suggesting the warmer character that would emerge as the show found its distinctly American voice. The pilot episode, Pilot, adapted directly from the British version's Downsize, introduced viewers to the show's central conceit with documentary-style efficiency. A corporate restructuring threatens jobs at the Scranton branch, creating the kind of workplace anxiety that would have driven the British office deeper into darkness. But here serves as the backdrop for moments of unexpected human connection. Jim's pranks on Dwight, replacing his desk items with gift-wrapped versions, programming his computer to play inappropriate sounds, establish their antagonistic dynamic while revealing Jim's essential playfulness rather than cruelty. Diversity Day, the season's second episode, marked the first significant departure from the British template and revealed the show's emerging personality. Written by Mike Schur, the episode finds Michael conducting a disastrous diversity training session after his inadvertently offensive Chris Rock impression prompts corporate intervention. Where a similar scenario in the British office might have descended into pure mortification, here the chaos becomes an opportunity for character development. Pam's quiet strength emerges as she manages the aftermath of Michael's cultural insensitivity, while the diversity exercise itself, however misguided, reveals the character's underlying humanity. The season's remaining episodes, Healthcare, The Alliance, Basketball, and Hot Girl, continue the delicate process of character excavation, each installment revealing new facets of the Dunder Mifflin ecosystem. Basketball particularly demonstrated the show's growing confidence, transforming a simple game between the office workers and warehouse staff into an exploration of Michael's insecurities and the complex racial dynamics he's too oblivious to navigate gracefully. The episode's conclusion, with Michael's team's inevitable defeat, established a pattern that would serve the show well. Michael's grandiose plans colliding with reality in ways that were both humbling and oddly endearing. Critical reception and growing pains. The critical reception of The Office's first season reflected the natural skepticism that greets any adaptation of beloved source material, particularly when that source material hails from a culture renowned for its sophisticated sense of humor. Many critics approaching the show through the lens of comparison found it wanting when measured against Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant's original creation. The Guardian's dismissive review captured the prevailing sentiment among British observers, suggesting that Steve Carell was trying too hard and describing the adaptation as a pale imitation of the original's uncomfortable brilliance. American critics, while generally more receptive to the show's cultural translation, struggled to place it within the established categories of television comedy. The Office's mockumentary format, its deliberately awkward pacing, and its commitment to character development over joke-driven plotting challenged viewers accustomed to the rapid-fire rhythm of traditional sitcoms. Some reviewers, writing for publications like the New York Daily News, criticized the show as neither daring nor funny, failing to recognize that its innovations lay not in bold gestures, but in subtle observations about the nature of workplace relationships and the quiet desperation of corporate life. Yet beneath the mixed reviews lay evidence of the show's eventual triumph. Entertainment Weekly, in a prescient assessment, awarded the season a B+ and praised its ability to capture all the drudgery, awkwardness, and rivalry of cubicle living. Time magazine, with characteristic insight, recognized that NBC had created a daring, unflinching take on very American workplace tensions, identifying the cultural specificity that would make the show's comedy both universally recognizable and uniquely American. The season's viewership figures told their own story of gradual discovery. The pilot attracted 11.2 million viewers, riding the coattails of The Apprentice's popularity, but subsequent episodes saw that number dwindle as audiences struggled to adjust to the show's unconventional rhythms. Yet those who remained found themselves part of a growing community of devoted fans who recognized something special in the show's quiet observations and character-driven humor. The season finale, Hot Girl, drew only 4.8 million viewers, a number that would have suggested cancellation for many shows. but instead marked the beginning of the office's transformation from modest cable curiosity to streaming phenomenon. Within the show's production offices, the first season served as an extended workshop where writers and actors collaboratively discovered the voices of their characters. Mindy Kaling, who would later become one of the show's most distinctive writer-performers, began developing the voice that would make Kelly Kapoor such a memorable supporting character. B.J. Novak's Ryan Howard emerged as the perfect foil for Michael's desperate attempts at mentorship, while Paul Lieberstein's Toby Flenderson established himself as the put-upon voice of corporate responsibility in a workplace that operated according to its own chaotic logic, the foundation of something greater. As the first season drew to a close with Hot Girl, an episode that found the Dunder Mifflin employees enchanted by a visiting handbag saleswoman, the show had established the fundamental elements that would sustain it through 9 seasons of storytelling. The love triangle between Jim, Pam, and Roy had been quietly introduced, creating the romantic tension that would drive much of the series' emotional development. Michael's relationship with his employees had evolved from purely antagonistic to something more complex. He remained an incompetent manager, but his genuine affection for his staff began to shine through his inappropriate behavior. The mockumentary format, initially borrowed wholesale from the British version, had begun to feel natural rather than forced. The talking head interviews no longer seemed like mere exposition, but had become windows into the characters' inner lives, opportunities for them to process their experiences and share their perspectives with the unseen camera crew that had become their confessor. The show's writers had learned to use the documentary conceit not just for laughs, but for moments of genuine pathos. The kind of small human moments that make viewers feel they're witnessing real life rather than scripted television. Perhaps most importantly, the first season established the show's commitment to finding humor in the mundane details of office life, without condescending to either the characters or the audience. The Office would never mock its characters for their modest ambitions or their inability to escape their circumstances. Instead, it would find dignity in their small triumphs and genuine pathos in their everyday struggles. This fundamental empathy, barely visible in the show's earliest episodes but growing stronger with each installment, would become the foundation upon which all subsequent seasons would build. As viewers settled into summer reruns and the show's creators prepared for what they hoped would be a second season, The Office had accomplished something remarkable for such a brief run of episodes. It had created a world that felt lived in and authentic, populated by characters who seemed to exist beyond the boundaries of their scripted scenes. The Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin had become a place viewers wanted to visit, a workplace that, despite its dysfunction and mediocrity, offered something increasingly rare in contemporary entertainment: the simple pleasure of watching ordinary people navigate their relationships with patience, humor, and occasional grace. Chapter 3, Season 2, The Dundies and Beyond. The Alchemy of Awards Night. The transformation of The Office from uncertain experiment to television masterpiece began, quite fittingly, with an award ceremony held in the familiar fluorescent embrace of a Chili's restaurant. The Dundies, which premiered September 20th, 2005, as the second season's opening episode, announced the show's newfound confidence with the gentle authority of a manager who has finally learned to lead by example rather than desperation. Written by Greg Daniels with the loving attention of someone who understood that the most profound moments often emerge from the most ordinary circumstances. The episode established the template that would guide the series through its most celebrated seasons. Michael Scott's annual Dundies ceremony, staged with the earnest pageantry of a community theater production, revealed the character's essential contradiction in perfect miniature. his desperate need for appreciation battling against his complete inability to read the room. Steve Carell's performance in these early second-season episodes demonstrated the subtle evolution that would make Michael Scott one of television's most beloved characters. The cruel edges had been sanded away, replaced by a vulnerability that made his inappropriate behavior feel like misguided affection rather than genuine malice. But it was Jenna Fischer's Pam who provided the episode's emotional center, her gradual intoxication serving as both comedy and character revelation. As Pam progressively abandons her usual restraint under the influence of tropical drinks, she reveals glimpses of the vivacious woman hidden beneath the receptionist's professional mask. Her drunken appreciation for Michael's efforts, "You're a good boss," provides the validation he so desperately craves while demonstrating Pam's fundamental kindness, even in her uninhibited state. The episode's conclusion, with Pam's acceptance speech for her Whitest Sneakers Award, marked a turning point, not just for the character, but for the series itself, showing that The Office could find genuine warmth within its cringe comedy framework. The second season's opening trilogy, The Dundies, Sexual Harassment, and Office Olympics, demonstrated the show's new mastery of tone, balancing workplace absurdity with authentic human emotion in ways that felt effortless rather than forced. Sexual Harassment found comedy in Michael's misguided response to corporate mandates while exploring Jim's growing awareness of his feelings for Pam. Office Olympics, perhaps the season's most purely joyful episode, transformed a day without management supervision into an opportunity for the employees to create their own fun, their improvised games serving as gentle rebellion against corporate culture while revealing the natural camaraderie that exists when hierarchy temporarily dissolves. The architecture of romance. The second season's greatest achievement lay in its patient, realistic development of the relationship between Jim Halpert and Pam Beasley, a romance that unfolded with the naturalistic pacing of actual human connection rather than the artificial urgency typically demanded by television storytelling. Greg Daniels and his writing staff understood that the most compelling love stories emerge not from grand gestures but from the accumulation of small moments, shared glances, private jokes, the gradual recognition of kindred spirits finding each other in the most unlikely circumstances. Christmas Party, written by Michael Schur, provided the season's first major escalation of romantic tension, as Jim's secret Santa gift to Pam, a teapot filled with inside jokes and meaningful trinkets, becomes the catalyst for a moment of genuine intimacy. The episode's Yankee swap sequence, with its chaotic exchange of gifts and Pam's ultimately successful effort to reclaim Jim's thoughtful present, demonstrated the show's gift for finding profound meaning in mundane office traditions. Jim's decision to remove the note he had included with the gift, saving his romantic confession for a more appropriate moment, showed a maturity that distinguished The Office's approach to romance from the manufactured complications that drove other workplace comedies. The season's romantic arc continued to develop through episodes like The Fire, where Jim and Pam's extended conversation in the parking lot, sparked by a burning bagel that forces an office evacuation, reveals their intellectual compatibility and emotional connection. Their discussion of desert island scenarios, seemingly playful but charged with deeper meaning, establishes the foundation of their relationship. Two intelligent people trapped in circumstances that don't fully utilize their potential, finding solace in each other's company and understanding. The Injury, perhaps the second season's most perfectly crafted episode, demonstrated how the show could use Michael's narcissistic crisis, his overreaction to a minor burn from his George Foreman grill, as the backdrop for quieter character development. While Michael demands attention for his disability, Jim tends to Pam's genuine injury from falling in the parking lot, their tender moment revealing the kind of authentic care that transcends workplace friendship. The episode's structure, alternating between Michael's melodrama and the employees' genuine concern for each other, exemplified the show's ability to find both humor and heart in the same situations. The weight of unspoken words. As the second season progressed toward its climactic finale, Casino Night, the emotional stakes of the Jim-Pam relationship had been building with the inexorable pressure of a gathering storm. Episodes like Email Surveillance and Take Your Daughter to Work Day continued to develop their connection while maintaining the bittersweet tension of a romance constrained by circumstance. Pam's engagement to Roy serving as both obstacle and source of dramatic tension that elevated the stakes beyond simple will they, won't they mechanics. The Client, co-written by Paul Lieberstein, provided the season's most significant development in Michael's character arc, as his dinner with Jan and potential client Tim Meadows reveals his surprising competence when his desperation to impress is channeled into actual professional skill. Michael's impromptu performance of Awesome Blossom and his ability to close the deal despite, or perhaps because of, his unconventional approach demonstrated that beneath his inappropriate behavior lay genuine enthusiasm for his work and authentic care for his company's success. The season's penultimate episodes built toward the emotional crescendo of Casino Night, each installment adding another layer to the complex web of relationships that had developed within the Dunder Mifflin ecosystem. Conflict Resolution, the season's 21st episode, found Michael temporarily taking over Toby's human resources duties, creating chaos that paradoxically reveals the underlying affection the employees feel for each other despite their daily irritations. The episode's resolution, Toby's quiet restoration to his position, demonstrated the show's understanding that some workplace dynamics exist in delicate balance, requiring careful maintenance rather than dramatic intervention. Casino Night, the moment of truth. Casino Night, the second season's extended finale, represents perhaps the finest example of The Office's ability to balance multiple tonal registers within a single episode, creating a piece of television that functions simultaneously as workplace comedy, romantic drama, and character study. Written by Steve Carell himself, his first script for the series, the episode demonstrates an intuitive understanding of the show's DNA, weaving together the season's various narrative threads into a conclusion that feels both inevitable and surprising. The episode's charity casino setup provides the perfect backdrop for the season's romantic culmination, the artificial glamour of the warehouse-turned-gambling hall creating an atmosphere where the characters' usual inhibitions might temporarily dissolve. Michael's decision to invite both Jan and his realtor Carol to the event sets up the kind of situational comedy that could easily have become farcical, but Carell's script treats both women with respect, using Michael's romantic confusion to reveal his fundamental loneliness rather than simply mining it for laughs. Jim's revelation to the documentary cameras that he has interviewed for a position at the Stamford branch provides the episode's emotional undercurrent, his admission that he has no future here, serving as both practical career decision and romantic desperation. John Krasinski's performance throughout the episode carries the weight of a man who has reached the limits of his ability to maintain the status quo, his usual easy humor shadowed by the recognition that his feelings for Pam have become incompatible with their current circumstances. The episode's climactic moments, Jim's confession to Pam, their kiss and her subsequent rejection, unfold with a kind of raw, emotional honesty that elevates The Office beyond mere workplace comedy into something approaching art. The scene outside the office, with Jim finally giving voice to feelings that have been building for 2 seasons, demonstrates both Krasinski and Fisher's gifts for finding the universal within the specific. Pam's response, "I can't, I'm sorry, I just can't," followed immediately by their passionate kiss, captures the complexity of real human emotion in ways that scripted television rarely achieves. The season's final shot, Jim's empty desk the following Monday morning, provided a cliffhanger that felt earned rather than manipulative, the logical conclusion of the emotional journey that had been building throughout the season. The image of his abandoned workspace, with its missing personal touches and absent pranks, conveyed the profound impact of his departure not just on Pam, but on the entire office ecosystem that had been built around their dynamic. Critical acclaim and cultural impact. The second season's critical reception marked a dramatic reversal from the mixed reviews that had greeted the show's freshman year, with critics and audiences finally recognizing the distinctive voice that The Office had developed through patient character work and tonal refinement. James Poniewosik of Time magazine captured the emerging consensus when he wrote that producer Greg Daniels created not a copy, but an interpretation that sends up distinctly American work conventions, with a tone that's more satiric and less mordant. Entertainment Weekly's Mark Harris echoed this sentiment, praising the fearless Steve Carell, an ever-stronger supporting cast, and scripts that spew American corporate absurdist vernacular with perfect pitch. The season's viewership figures reflected this critical turnaround, with the premiere attracting 9.0 million viewers, nearly double the first season finale's audience, and subsequent episodes maintaining strong numbers that convinced NBC to move the show to its prestigious Thursday night, must-see TV lineup. The mid-season shift to Thursday nights, paired with episodes following American Idol's results show, exposed The Office to a broader audience that discovered the show's unique blend of humor and heart. More significantly, the second season marked the beginning of The Office's evolution from television curiosity to cultural phenomenon. The show's mockumentary format, once seen as a limitation, had become its greatest strength, allowing viewers to feel like participants in the Dunder Mifflin experience rather than mere observers. So the characters' direct address to the camera, their knowing glances and private confessions, created an unprecedented sense of intimacy between audience and fiction, a relationship that would only deepen as the series continued. The season's awards recognition, including Emmy nominations for Outstanding Comedy Series and Steve Carell's Golden Globe win for Best Actor in a Television Series, Musical or Comedy, validated the creative team's decision to trust their distinctive vision rather than chase more conventional forms of success. Yet perhaps more important than critical accolades was the show's growing impact on actual workplace culture, as viewers began incorporating office-inspired humor into their own professional lives, recognizing their own colleagues in the show's carefully observed character types. Chapter 4, Season 3, The Morning After, Separation and Growth. The third season of The Office opened with the delicate challenge of addressing the emotional devastation left in the wake of Casino Night, while simultaneously introducing new characters and dynamics that would enrich the show's world without diminishing the impact of Jim's departure. The season premiere, Gay Witch Hunt, found the Scranton branch adjusting to life without their beloved prankster. The absence of Jim's daily antics creating a palpable void that affected not just Pam, but the entire office ecosystem that had been built around their playful dynamic. Meanwhile, at the Stamford branch, Jim's integration into a new workplace provided the show's writers with fresh opportunities to explore his character outside the context of his romantic feelings for Pam. The introduction of Karen Filippelli, played with warm intelligence by Rashida Jones, created the potential for new romantic complications while allowing viewers to see Jim function as something other than the lovelorn coworker whose life revolves around unrequited love. Stanford's more professional atmosphere, with its efficient manager Josh Porter and productive work environment, served as a pointed contrast to Scranton's chaotic but warm dysfunction. Back in Scranton, Pam's journey through the aftermath of her rejection of Jim provided some of the season's most nuanced character development. Jenna Fisher's performance during these episodes demonstrated remarkable subtlety, showing a woman processing the consequences of her choices while maintaining her professional composure and personal dignity. The slow dissolution of her engagement to Roy, handled with careful attention to the complexities of long-term relationships, avoided the typical television trap of demonizing one party in favor of another, instead presenting their breakup as the natural result of two people growing in different directions. The season's exploration of Michael's relationship with Jan Levinson provided another rich vein of both comedy and character development, as their inappropriate office romance evolved from mutual professional frustration into something resembling genuine affection, albeit of the deeply dysfunctional variety. Melora Hardin's portrayal of John's gradual transformation from competent corporate executive to Michael's enabler created one of the series' most tragic character arcs, a slow-motion professional and personal decline that generated both laughs and genuine concern. The return and reunion. The season's midpoint brought the long-anticipated corporate merger that would reunite Jim with his Scranton colleagues, an event that the show's writers approached with the kind of careful plotting that elevated it beyond mere narrative convenience. The merger and its surrounding episodes demonstrated the office's commitment to exploring the genuine workplace consequences of corporate restructuring, using the business changes as a catalyst for character development, rather than simply as a plot device to restore the show's original dynamic. Jim's return to Scranton, complicated by his new relationship with Karen and his unresolved feelings for Pam, created the kind of sophisticated emotional terrain that allowed the show to explore themes of growth, regret, and the impossibility of returning unchanged to familiar circumstances. The awkwardness of his first interactions with Pam, the careful politeness that replaced their easy friendship, demonstrated how profoundly their casino night conversation had altered the fundamental nature of their relationship. The integration of the Stanford transfers, Karen, Andy Bernard, and the brief appearance of Todd Packer provided fresh energy while testing the established relationships within the Dunder Mifflin ecosystem. Ed Helms's Andy Bernard, in particular, emerged as a perfect foil for Dwight's intensity, their ongoing rivalry creating new opportunities for both physical comedy and character development. Andy's aggressive pursuit of advancement, coupled with his Cornell pride and anger management issues, added a different type of workplace dysfunction that complemented rather than competed with the existing character dynamics. Moments of perfect comedy. The third season produced several of the series' most memorable standalone episodes, demonstrating the show's growing confidence in balancing character development with pure comedic excellence. Beach Games. The season's penultimate episode transformed a corporate beach day into an exploration of office politics, personal ambition, and long-suppressed emotions. Michael's decision to conduct interviews for his potential replacement created an opportunity for characters like Jim, Karen, and Dwight to reveal their professional aspirations while generating comedy with their competitive dynamics. The episode's climactic moment, Pam's unexpected burst of honesty during the firewalking ceremony, provided one of the series' most powerful character moments. Her confession that she's been in love with Jim for years, delivered to a group of colleagues but clearly directed at Jim himself, demonstrated character growth that felt both surprising and inevitable. Jenna Fisher's performance in this scene, balancing vulnerability with newfound strength, marked a turning point for Pam's character that would influence her development throughout the remaining seasons. The Convict, which found the office grappling with the revelation that one of their co-workers is an ex-convict, exemplified the show's ability to mine comedy from workplace awkwardness while exploring themes of prejudice and redemption. Michael's attempts to relate to Prison Mike's experiences, complete with his ridiculous accent and misconceptions about prison life, provided classic cringe comedy while revealing his fundamental inability to read social situations appropriately. The Job, a season-ending masterpiece. The third season concluded with The Job, an episode that stands among the series' finest achievements, weaving together multiple narrative threads into a finale that provided both satisfying resolution and tantalizing setup for future developments. The episode's central premise, Michael's interview for the corporate position that would take him away from Scranton, created natural dramatic tension while forcing characters to confront their relationships and priorities. Jim's decision to interview for the same position, motivated partly by career ambition and partly by his need to escape the complicated dynamics of his current situation, provided the episode with its emotional center. His interview scenes, alternating between professional competence and personal honesty, demonstrated John Krasinski's ability to convey complex internal states through subtle performance choices. The revelation that he's interviewing, primarily to avoid dealing with his feelings for Pam, added layers of motivation that elevated the character beyond simple romantic hero. The episode's multiple climaxes, Michael's decision to return to Scranton, Jim's proposal to Pam, and Karen's dignified exit from both the corporate position and her relationship with Jim, demonstrated the show's ability to handle multiple emotional registers within a single episode. Each resolution felt earned rather than convenient, the natural result of character development that had been building throughout the season rather than arbitrary plot manipulation designed to create artificial drama. The season's final moments, with Jim's nervous proposal and Pam's joyful acceptance, provided the kind of romantic payoff that could have felt manipulative in less capable hands, but here seemed like the inevitable conclusion of 2 years of careful character development. The scene's power lay not in its dramatic gestures, but in its recognition of the character's growth. Jim's willingness to take emotional risks and Pam's newfound ability to pursue her own happiness rather than accepting circumstances imposed by others. Chapter 5, Season 4, Into the Heart of Darkness. The Dinner Party, a masterclass in discomfort. Among the many jewels in the office's crown of uncomfortable comedy, Dinner Party stands as perhaps the series' most perfectly executed descent into domestic dysfunction, a 22-minute masterpiece of cringe that reveals the show's ability to find both humor and pathos in the most excruciating human situations. Written by Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupnitsky, and directed with surgical precision by Paul Feig, the episode invited viewers into Michael and Jan's shared living space with the voyeuristic fascination of witnessing a relationship's spectacular implosion in real time. The episode's genius lay in its commitment to sustained awkwardness, trapping both characters and viewers in Michael's condo with no possibility of escape as John's psychological deterioration and Michael's oblivious hosting create layer upon layer of social catastrophe. From the moment Jim and Pam arrive to discover they're attending a couples-only dinner party, despite being explicitly told otherwise, the evening unfolds with the inexorable logic of a nightmare. Each new revelation about Michael and Jan's relationship, adding another note to a symphony of dysfunction. The episode's careful attention to detail elevated it from simple cringe comedy to something approaching social satire, with every element of Michael's domestic space reflecting his desperate attempts to project success and sophistication. The tiny plasma television, which Michael proudly displays as evidence of his prosperity, serves as a perfect metaphor for his relationship with John. Expensive, showy, and ultimately inadequate for its intended purpose. Jan's candle business, Hunter's CD playing in the background, and the various artifacts of their shared delusion create an environment where every object tells a story of misguided ambition and relationship toxicity. Steve Carell and Melora Hardin's performances throughout the episode demonstrated their complete understanding of these characters' psychological dynamics, playing both the comedy and the genuine sadness of two people whose relationship has become a competition to see who can inflict more damage on the other. Jan's passive-aggressive commentary about Michael's financial irresponsibility, his sexual performance, and his general inadequacy as a partner provides moments of dark humor while revealing the genuine cruelty that has infected their dynamic. The season's broader tapestry. While Dinner Party may have been the season's most memorable single episode, the fourth season as a whole demonstrated The Office's ability to maintain narrative momentum across multiple storylines while continuing to develop its ensemble cast. The season opened with Fun Run, a supersized episode that found Michael organizing a charity race to benefit rabies research after accidentally hitting Meredith with his car. An incident that exemplified the show's ability to mine comedy from genuinely serious situations without diminishing their impact. Jim and Pam's new relationship, while providing the romantic fulfillment that fans had been anticipating for 3 seasons, created fresh challenges for the show's writers as they worked to maintain dramatic tension without retreating into artificial obstacles. The solution lay in exploring the complexities of transitioning from friendship to romance within a workplace setting, the small adjustments and negotiations that real couples navigate as they learn to balance professional and personal relationships. The season also marked significant development for supporting characters like Dwight, whose relationship with Angela Martin continued to evolve in surprising directions, and Ryan Howard, whose promotion to corporate provided opportunities to explore themes of ambition, corruption, and the way success can transform personality. B.J. Novak's portrayal of Ryan's gradual transformation from earnest temp to entitled executive created one of the series' most effective character arcs, demonstrating how workplace advancement can reveal both the best and worst aspects of human nature. Chapter 6, Season 6, The Wedding at Niagara Falls. Love finds its perfect expression. The 6th season of The Office opened like a gentle morning after a long winter, carrying within its early episodes the promise of joy that had been building through 5 seasons of carefully cultivated romance and workplace friendship. The season would culminate in perhaps the series' most joyous achievement with the 2-part wedding episode, Niagara, a celebration that demonstrated how the show could honor its characters' happiness without sacrificing the observational humor that made it distinctive. As you settle deeper into the comfort of these familiar voices, let the story of this pivotal season wash over you like the sound of distant wedding bells carried on a warm autumn breeze. The season began with the gentle comedy of pregnancy-induced morning sickness, as Pam's condition created new opportunities for both humor and character development. In the cold open of Niagara, Pam asks the office to avoid pungent foods and scents, only to have Dwight deliberately eat a boiled egg in front of her, maintaining eye contact as she throws up in her bin, prompting a chain of vomiting involving everyone in the room except Creed and Dwight, who look on with astonishment. These moments, while comedic, revealed the show's continuing evolution toward a more optimistic vision of workplace community, where even the most uncomfortable situations became opportunities for shared experience and mutual support. Throughout the season's early episodes, the writers worked with the delicate precision of master craftsmen to balance the various narrative threads that would converge in the wedding celebration. Michael Scott's relationship with the mysterious Holly Flax, introduced in the previous season as his intellectual and emotional equal, continued to develop in ways that revealed both his capacity for genuine love and his fear of vulnerability. Their phone conversations across the distance imposed by corporate transfers demonstrated a different side of Michael's personality, one that could be thoughtful, romantic, and surprisingly mature when given the proper motivation. Meanwhile, the supporting characters were each given opportunities to shine with the kind of understated development that had become the office's signature approach to ensemble storytelling. Dwight's continuing agricultural obsessions provided comfort through their predictable intensity, while Angela's relationship with Senator Robert Lipton began to hint at complications that would unfold in later seasons. The season found particular success in episodes like Murder, where Michael's attempt to distract the office from rumors of corporate bankruptcy with an elaborate mystery game revealed both his childlike enthusiasm and his genuine concern for his employees' emotional well-being. The Road to Niagara Falls. As the season progressed toward its celebrated conclusion, the anticipation for Jim and Pam's wedding built with the same careful pacing that had characterized their entire romantic arc. The highly anticipated episode revolved around the wedding of Jim and Pam at Niagara Falls, though not all goes smoothly when Jim accidentally reveals Pam's pregnancy to all the guests, including Pam's very old-fashioned grandmother, and Andy injures his scrotum while dancing. The choice of Niagara Falls as the wedding destination proved inspired, providing both a naturally romantic backdrop and the kind of slightly overwhelming spectacle that would create opportunities for the characters' various neuroses and insecurities to manifest in comedic ways. The episodes leading up to the wedding demonstrated the office's mastery of building anticipation through small details and character moments, rather than artificial dramatic tension. Pam's pregnancy, kept secret from her conservative grandmother, Meemaw, created the kind of gentle comedy of social awkwardness that the series had perfected. The revelation scene where Jim gives a moving toast to his soon-to-be wife, but finishes by saying that everyone but Pam will drink to the toast, for obvious reasons, leading Meemaw to question this remark and forcing Jim to finally admit that Pam is pregnant, exemplified the show's ability to find humor in the kinds of family dynamics that every viewer could recognize from their own experience. The pre-wedding episodes also provided opportunities for the supporting cast to shine in ways that felt organic rather than forced. Michael and Dwight's plans to use the wedding as the single best pickup destination in the history of the universe created plot lines that were both true to their characters and gently satirical of wedding culture more broadly. The revelation that Michael finds himself with no room because he didn't make a reservation, misunderstanding the concept of a room block as pre-reserved rooms rather than a bulk discount, provided classic Michael Scott comedy while maintaining sympathy for his character's genuine desire to be part of the celebration. The dance that changed everything. The famous recreation of the viral wedding entrance video with the entire wedding party dancing down the aisle to Chris Brown's Forever provided a moment of pure jubilation that felt earned after seasons of romantic buildup and character development. The sequence, inspired by the real YouTube video JK Wedding Entrance Dance, represented something deeper than mere pop culture reference. It captured the spirit of joy and spontaneity that the office at its best could generate from the most ordinary circumstances. The dance down the church aisle was based on the popular 2009 YouTube viral video, JK Wedding Entrance Dance, in which a young couple danced down the aisle to the song along with their wedding party. Pam mentions that the song was specifically put on a do not play list, but was choreographed by the wedding guests and office workers regardless. This detail perfectly captured the show's understanding of how real relationships work. The way that love often expresses itself through small rebellions against formal expectations, through the willingness of friends to surprise us with gestures of support that exceed our hopes. The planning and execution of the dance sequence revealed the office's continuing evolution as a production. The scene in which Jim cuts his tie off took 7 takes, demonstrating the care with which even seemingly spontaneous moments were crafted. Yet the final result felt entirely natural, a testament to both the performers' chemistry and the writer's understanding that the most affecting moments often emerge from characters acting against their established patterns. Jim embracing silliness, Pam allowing herself to be surprised, even the usually staid office workers abandoning their inhibitions in service of celebration. But perhaps the most significant aspect of the wedding episodes was what happened away from the cameras and the crowd. During the dance sequence, a flashback reveals Jim and Pam's adventure during their absence. They are shown boarding the Maid of the Mist, a ferry boat, and being married by the ship's captain below the falls. Jim explains to the camera that he had prepared the ferry marriage in advance after seeing the video, in anticipation of the likely chaos at the ceremony. This quiet moment, filmed against the majesty of Niagara Falls itself, provided the emotional center that elevated the episodes from mere wedding comedy to something approaching art. The secret wedding. The revelation that Jim and Pam had secretly married on the Maid of the Mist before their official ceremony represented the office's most romantic gesture, a moment that honored both the characters' need for private intimacy and the audience's investment in their relationship. Jim explains that this was Plan C, Plan B being the church, and Plan A, marrying her a long time ago. Pretty much the day I met her. This line, delivered with John Krasinski's characteristic understated emotion, captured years of character development in a single sentence, acknowledging the journey that had brought these characters to this moment while celebrating the simplicity of their fundamental connection. Chapter 7. Season 7, The Weight of Goodbye. When legends take their leave. The 7th season of The Office carried within its 26 episodes the bittersweet knowledge that all beautiful things must end, as Steve Carell's announced departure cast a poignant shadow over every Michael Scott moment, transforming even his most ridiculous antics into treasured reminders of a character whose time in Scranton was drawing to a close. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, let us walk together through this season of farewells and new beginnings, where laughter mixed with tears in the gentle proportions that make life both bearable and beautiful. The season opened with the knowledge that change was inevitable, though the writers worked with remarkable skill to delay the emotional reckoning that would come with Michael's departure. In the 7th season, Holly goes back to Dunder Mifflin when Toby has to leave for jury duty. Michael and Holly reconnect as Holly breaks her current relationship with her boyfriend, AJ. The return of Holly Flax, played with perfect warmth by Amy Ryan, provided the emotional foundation for Michael's eventual exit, giving his departure story the kind of romantic fulfillment that had eluded the character through 6 seasons of misguided relationships and desperate attempts at connection. The return of true love. Michael and Holly's relationship rekindled with the natural ease of 2 people who had found their intellectual and emotional match in each other. After Michael and Holly finally fell in love, Michael popped the question in a romantic moment right in the Dunder Mifflin office in the Season 7 episode Garage Sale. The proposal scene, taking place in the familiar surroundings of the office that had been Michael's second home for so many years, provided the perfect metaphor for how workplace relationships could transcend their professional origins to become something deeper and more lasting. The gentle progression of Michael and Holly's renewed romance provided a masterclass in television writing, demonstrating how true chemistry between characters and performers could make even the most predictable story beats feel fresh and affecting. Their shared sense of humor, their mutual understanding of each other's quirks, and their ability to bring out each other's better qualities created a relationship that felt both realistic and romantic, a notable achievement in a television landscape often divided between idealized fantasy and cynical dysfunction. The art of saying goodbye. Goodbye, Michael was met with critical acclaim from critics and fans and is considered one of the best episodes of The Office. The episode, written by series creator Greg Daniels and directed by Paul Feig, represented television comedy at its finest, balancing humor with genuine emotion in ways that honored both the character and the audience's investment in his journey. The episode was written by series developer and executive producer Greg Daniels and was directed by Paul Feig, marking his 15th and final directing credit on the show. Michael's exit finds him saying goodbyes to all his favorite co-workers, with Pam catching up to him at the airport for a touching hug and goodbye message that happens off microphone, as they've both removed their microphones in the airport at that point. This final scene between Michael and Pam provided perhaps the series' most emotionally resonant moment, with Pam actress Jenna Fisher later confirming it was a personal message from her to Carell, genuinely emotional about their time together on the series. Chapter 8, Season 8, The Lizard King, Cometh, a new kind of leadership. The 8th season of The Office faced the unenviable challenge of continuing without its beating heart, as the Scranton branch struggled to find new leadership while maintaining the workplace dynamics that had sustained 7 seasons of storytelling. The introduction of James Spader's Robert California as the enigmatic new CEO brought a different energy to the series, his philosophical musings and mysterious background creating intrigue, even as fans mourned Michael Scott's absence. As you settle into the familiar rhythms of evening rest, let the story of this season of transition wash over you like the sound of rain against windows, different from what came before, but carrying its own particular music. In the 8th season, Robert managed to persuade Joe Bennett to appoint him CEO in her place, after originally being hired as the branch manager over the summer. In the Season 8 premiere, it is revealed that Robert landed a position as the Scranton branch manager, but somehow managed to drive to Florida and convince the CEO to give him her job. This audacious career move, accomplished entirely off-screen between seasons, perfectly captured Robert California's most defining characteristic: his ability to talk his way into any situation through sheer force of personality and intellectual intimidation. The peculiar charisma of Robert California. James Spader's portrayal of Robert California created one of television's most enigmatic characters, a man who could simultaneously inspire and intimidate through his strange combination of New Age philosophy and corporate ruthlessness. Robert believes there is no such thing as products. His universal truth is that everything is sex. And Spader weaves this monologue in such a compelling way that the employees agree, and Jim claims Robert is a genius despite creeping them out. These moments of pseudo-philosophical discourse provided a completely different type of comedy from Michael Scott's earnest bumbling, replacing cringe humor with a more surreal brand of workplace absurdity. Chapter 9, Season 9, The Documentary Airs. When fiction meets reality. The 9th and final season of The Office created a meditation on endings and beginnings, as the revelation that the documentary crew's footage would finally air as a television series created opportunities for self-reflection and character growth. while the Dunder Mifflin employees grappled with seeing themselves through the lens of national television. Tonight, as we approach the conclusion of our gentle journey through Scranton's hallways, let the story of this final season enfold you like the comfortable weight of a familiar blanket, carrying within its carefully crafted episodes at both the satisfaction of closure and the bittersweet knowledge that all good things must find their ending. The 9th season largely focuses on the relationship between Jim and Pam Halpert. After Jim decides to follow his dream and start a sports marketing company in Philadelphia, Pam begins to worry about moving, and the couple's relationship experiences stress. This central storyline provided the season with its emotional backbone, exploring how even the strongest relationships must navigate the challenges posed by individual growth and professional ambition. The Perfect Goodbye. The series finale brought back many beloved characters, including Steve Carell's surprise return as Michael Scott, who serves as Dwight's best man at his wedding to Angela. Michael returns in the series finale, surprising Dwight by showing up at his wedding to be his best man, with some help from Jim, who made it happen. Michael's still married to Holly in the finale, and they have several kids together. This return, kept secret during production and going uncredited on screen, provided exactly the right amount of closure for Michael's story, while allowing him to share in the joy of Dwight's big day. The legacy and the long goodbye. From workplace comedy to cultural phenomenon. The true measure of The Office's cultural impact became apparent not during its original broadcast run, but in the years following its conclusion, as streaming platforms transformed it from a fondly remembered workplace comedy into a genuine cultural phenomenon that transcended generational boundaries. As we reach the conclusion of our gentle journey through the hallways of Dunder Mifflin, it seems fitting to reflect on how this modest mockumentary about a paper supply company became one of the most beloved and influential television series of the modern era. When the series found its second life on Netflix in the early 2000s, it discovered audiences who had never experienced its gentle rhythms during the appointment television era. Viewers who could consume entire seasons in the kind of marathon viewing sessions that revealed new layers of character development and narrative sophistication. The streaming era's approach to television consumption proved particularly well-suited to The Office's carefully constructed world, allowing viewers to notice the subtle details and character interactions that gave the series its remarkable sense of lived-in authenticity. The comfort of familiar rhythms. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of The Office's legacy lies in its role as what many viewers describe as a comfort show, a series that provides emotional support and stress relief through its gentle humor and predictable rhythms. The show's commitment to finding dignity in ordinary work, meaning in mundane interactions, and joy in the small victories and defeats that make up daily life has made it a source of solace for viewers facing their own workplace challenges or life transitions. The series finale's final talking head interviews, where each character reflects on their time at Dunder Mifflin, provided a template for how viewers might think about their own work experiences and relationships. Pam's observation that there's a lot of beauty in ordinary things became something approaching a mission statement for the series as a whole, suggesting that comedy's highest purpose might be to help us recognize the humor and humanity in our own everyday circumstances. The endless return. As new generations discover The Office through streaming platforms and word-of-mouth recommendations, the series continues to find fresh audiences who connect with its themes of friendship, ambition, love, and the search for meaning in work that may not always feel meaningful. The show's ability to speak to universal experiences while maintaining its specific sense of place and character has made it remarkably durable, resistant to the kind of cultural obsolescence that often affects comedy series tied too closely to contemporary references or topical humor. The Office succeeded not because it offered escapist fantasy, but because it found extraordinary humanity in ordinary circumstances, teaching us that the most profound connections often develop in the most unlikely places. The series' exploration of how workplace relationships can evolve into genuine friendships, romantic partnerships, and chosen family structures provided a vision of professional life that emphasized human connection over corporate achievement, personal growth over individual advancement. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep with the gentle voices of Scranton's finest paper sales professionals echoing in your memory, remember that The Office's greatest gift was not its humor, though it was often very funny, but its generosity of spirit. In a world that often encourages cynicism about work, skepticism about institutions, and ironic distance from genuine feeling, The Office chose to find goodness in imperfect people, meaning in mundane tasks, and beauty in the ordinary interactions that fill our days. The series finale's final shot, the empty office building at night, its windows glowing warmly against the darkness, serves as a reminder that workplaces are ultimately about the people who inhabit them, and that the stories we tell about our professional lives are really stories about how we learn to care for each other in whatever circumstances we find ourselves. The Dunder Mifflin Scranton branch may exist only in fiction, but the truths it revealed about human nature, workplace dynamics, and the possibility of finding joy in unexpected places continue to resonate with anyone who has ever punched a time clock, attended a meeting, or discovered that their colleagues had somehow become their friends. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with the warm glow of fluorescent lights, the comfortable hum of office equipment, and the reassuring knowledge that somewhere in the realm of imagination, the story of love, laughter, and paper sales continues in the hearts of everyone who learned to find poetry in the everyday miracle of shared work and mutual respect, in the words that became a benediction for an entire generation of viewers. That's what she said, and in saying it, found a way to transform even the most ordinary moment into something worth remembering, worth sharing, and worth celebrating as another small victory in the ongoing project of being human together.